Hello, my name is James Stanzoni, and this is the Moratorium. I'm here to talk about all the ins and outs of the NBA on the salary cap sheet, on the NBA core, and everything in between. So, I want to talk about the huge news that we got that Malik Beasley will not be investigated anymore. The investigation is complete, and they found that he was not guilty of, maybe gambling on himself or doing things that are illegal while playing in the NBA. I know players are allowed to gamble on other sports, I believe, or other leagues, but you can't gamble on yourself or, gamble on your team or in some way have a say and disrupt the integrity of the game. We are seeing a ton of players from different leagues and different sports getting in trouble for this. Now, with sports gambling being very prevalent, being legalized mostly in every single state now, there's going to be a ton of issues, and it's only beginning. But that is not the case for Malik. So Shams Charania has reported that Malik Beasley is no longer a target of the federal investigation conducted by New York. And, he was a free agent coming up. He was going to command roughly $50-60 million from the Detroit Pistons. He was able to spread the floor, help them, and put up a ton of threes and make a ton of threes at a 40% clip. Malik Beasley is an incredibly talented player, and he was crucial to the Detroit Pistons' run to the playoffs. And let's not, kid ourselves. They had a chance to knock off the Knicks and force a Game 7 possibly. Knicks got lucky in the end, made a tough couple of clutch baskets by Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns in the game prior. So Detroit had a great season, and Malik Beasley was a huge part of that. He was coming up for free agency. We all thought he was one of the biggest free agents that was going to re-sign with Detroit for a $50-60 million contract, and then a huge investigation happened, and, that put all that to rest, and it really hurt his look around the NBA. NBA teams do not want to get involved with a player. Doesn't matter how talented they are. They do not want to get involved with a player who has this surrounding them. Investigation, it's something that NBA teams are staying far from. So he has not been signed. He is still a free agent. And now, deep in the offseason, where we don't see talent like this available, it's going to be extremely interesting to see where he lands. Is it as obvious as he goes back to Detroit? Well, you might say no, maybe, because maybe he didn't like that, they didn't give him his money, but I don't think so. I think there was a mutual understanding there to allow the investigation to go through, and then once it goes through, which it did now, they'll come to a resolution. I think he'll probably wind up staying in Detroit. But who knows? They did bring in a Duncan Robinson. They brought in some other players to replace him in case they couldn't retain him. So it's going to be extremely interesting. Now, Malik Beasley has some options. It's not like he just has to go to Detroit. So if we pull up my guy, Keith Smith, huge basketball fan and, huge expert on the salary cap, has some incredible reporting here. So he broke down each team and what they can offer him. Now, any team can give him a veteran minimum, except some teams that are too close to their hard cap, like a Los Angeles Lakers. They wouldn't even be able to give a veteran minimum. But if he doesn't want to play on a veteran minimum, he has a ton of options. Now, you go to Brooklyn, $15 million in cap space. If you watched my last video, I explained how teams do not operate with cap space these last couple years. They are orchestrating around the first apron, over the salary cap, and second apron. Brooklyn is one of those teams that does have cap space. They also have to figure out what's going on with Cam Thomas, and I don't see Malik Beasley wanting to go to a rebuilding team like a Brooklyn. Now, you got Charlotte, who still has their full non-taxpayer mid-level exception. So that is if you are not a tax team, but maybe you're over the salary cap. You do have a $14.1 million exception to use still. Does he want to go to a Charlotte who hasn't been a winning team for a few years now? I don't think maybe he would want to go there for playing time, but I just don't see that being a natural fit for him. I think he wants to go to a team that is going to be able to pay him, of course, but also will be competing in April, May, and who knows, maybe June. So I don't see Charlotte being a good fit. Then you got Chicago, same situation. I don't see him wanting to go to Chicago. They still have to figure out the Josh Giddey stuff. They have a ton of guards, and I just don't see him being a fit in Chicago either. Now you got Indiana. Indiana is extremely interesting. With the loss of a Tyrese Halliburton, there is a spot in the rotation opened. Now, he can go there, get that 13 million or 13.5 if they want to give him the full thing, and he can carve out a great role for him and hit free agency next summer. Now, does Indiana want to bring him in? I mean, does Indiana maybe want to pivot to a mini rebuild just for 1 year, a little mini tank? Now, we don't usually see Indiana do this. They're not a team that tanks. They always draft well, lower in the lottery or potentially outside the lottery. So I don't think Indiana is, a bad fit for him. I think it would be pretty good for him to go there. He'll be able to play a ton of minutes, maybe most than other teams, and still compete for a playoff spot, still compete for a good team. And, I think that's a good fit. You got Miami, another good fit, I think, for him. They just brought in a Norm Powell. They are, they need bench help, but they have a really good starting five. They getting rid of Jimmy Butler. I think they're getting somewhere. I think they're building in the right way. Pat Riley, he always has something up his sleeve. I would not be surprised if he gets a Malik Beasley to sign for that $7 million. That's a portion of their non-taxpayer mid-level exception. Oklahoma City. It's unbelievable that Oklahoma City still has $8.5 million to spend. You don't see this normally with a contender championship winner like Oklahoma City. They're just reaping the benefits of building through the draft and able to have an incredibly talented roster that's going to be able to compete for years to come, win multiple championships, not just one. And it's so incredible that they still have $8.5 million to spend. I think that's remarkable, and I think that's great team building by Sam Presti. He's incredible. I actually met him when I went to Sports Business Classroom in the summer. Incredibly amazing person, and I mean, he's built that team numerous times, not just once, but he's torn it down and rebuilt it a couple times now. That would be extremely exciting, I think, for Malik Beasley to go there. Now, issue with Oklahoma City, they already have a ton of players. They already have a ton of guards. Do they have enough minutes that he would want to go there for? They might not be able to give him 25 minutes consistently at all. Maybe they won't even be able to give him 20. They're extremely deep, Oklahoma City. So does he want to go there on a 1-year deal where he won't be able to play? Maybe there's some games he doesn't even get on the court. So I don't know if that's a good fit for him. If he wants to win a championship, then go to Oklahoma City. But it's not how it works. Players have motivations as well, like getting their statistics, getting playing time, being able to be a part of that winning team. It's not just, I want to go on the end of a bench and get a ring. I don't think Malik wants to do that. He also wants to hit free agency next summer after, losing a ton of money this summer, which is pretty unfortunate. If he's not guilty of all of those charges, he never even got charged. But if he's not guilty of any gambling and now he can't get that 30, 40, 50 million that he was going to get, I think that's extremely disappointing for him. So I think he proved enough though last year. So he'll be able to hit free agency if he has a decent year and get most of that money back next year and next summer. And I don't see that happening on Oklahoma City Thunder. So then you got Sacramento Kings. I don't think he's going to want to join Sacramento. Sacramento is kind of the punching bag of the league. They're just stuck kind of. And I don't see him wanting to rebuild his value in a Sacramento. It doesn't really make sense to me. Doesn't seem like a natural fit. I know they have their eyes on a Russell Westbrook and they want to get rid of Malik Monk. I don't know why. I'd rather have Malik Monk. I think 29 other teams rather have Malik Monk, but that is the Sacramento Kings for you. So I don't know. Now, last one on the list, Washington, 14.1 million still of their non-taxpayer mid-level exception. Does he want to go to? This is the same type of thing I talked about with Brooklyn. Yes, you can cash in, get a ton of money, but I don't think he wants to go to a rebuilding team like Washington. They have an incredibly amazing young roster. They have built through that draft these last few years and hit on almost every single one of their picks. So they are building slow, and I don't think Malik is a good fit in Washington. I personally think he goes back to Detroit on a $7.2 million deal that they can offer him. I think it's a good fit for him. He knows what's there. He knows the players. He knows the coaching staff already. Why take a chance and go somewhere else for a little extra money when he can get that money next summer, like I mentioned? I mean, who knows? Maybe he's a little annoyed about the Duncan Robinson signing, and maybe his agent and his team might not want to go there because now Duncan has his minutes or whatever, but I don't think that's the case at all. They lost Tim Hardaway Jr., so they still have a spot open for him, I believe. Now, he can go, like I mentioned, not the Lakers. I think Lakers are the only team, maybe a Clippers too, that wouldn't even be able to give him a minimum. He can go to a New York Knicks for a minimum. He can go to teams like that are competing, that are contenders for a minimum contract. A team like New York, he would be the 9th, 10th man, though. So do you want to go to a team that you're going to be the 9th, 10th man on a team, and then also you have to play on a minimum deal when you can get a ton of more money just staying with Detroit on that $7 million deal? I think it makes more sense for him to stay with Detroit. But I don't know. You tell me in the comments below if you want to, leave any ideas you guys have. I would love to hear from you. So it really just depends on his motivations, what he wants to do. Is he going to go for the money? Is he going to go for his role? Is he going to go for that championship ring? And I think going to a Detroit, maybe they're not going to win a championship, but you're going to be competing. You're going to be competing. You're going to be making good money, $7 million. I think that's more than all the other. As we can see right here, what Keith pointed out, that's more than every other team can offer him besides OKC, Sacramento, Indiana, Charlotte, Chicago, and Brooklyn. And I kind of went through the reasons why most of those wouldn't be a good fit. Like I mentioned, though, Indiana, I would keep my eye open for Indiana. So, yeah. We'll see what happens with Malik. Like I said, you don't see this normally to have a player of this caliber available this late in the offseason. So it's going to be extremely interesting. Now, next thing I wanted to talk about, John Wall. I mean, unbelievable player. I remember growing up and John Wall was everybody's favorite point guard. He was so fun to watch. He wasn't a three-point shooter, but he got to the basket. He lived in the mid-range, and no one could stop him. He was incredibly fast. He was like a Russell Westbrook speed, but he also had an incredible handle, incredible moves that he can do. There will never be another John Wall. Coming out of college, he had all the hype, and he lived up to it. He made a ton of, great teams. He brought Washington some of the best years that team has ever seen. If we look at his basketball reference page, we can see Rookie of the Year came in second, made 4 All-Star teams, was 7th in MVP voting, and made an NBA third team. So this man had an incredible career, always averaging around 20 points per game. And then he actually had a decent year in Houston. It was just derailed by injuries. It was unfortunate. He picked up a ton of injuries later in his career, and it just didn't really work out for him. And, it's sad to see some of these players go, but he knew it was the right time and he understood what he had to do. And, now we're actually seeing that John Wall is he's going to be joining Prime. So he's not going anywhere. We're still gonna see him. He's actually gonna be on our TV screens more now. He's gonna be with Amazon Prime, part of their broadcast team. I think that's incredible for him to go from rehab and all that tough pain of, getting back on the court. That is extremely hard on these players, and it takes a huge toll on them and their families. So now he's able to understand, his best playing days may be behind him, but he's not going anywhere. Basketball is always going to be a part of him. He loves the game, and we can see that here as he joins an Amazon Prime and a part of their broadcast team. I think that's an incredible for him. And I'm really excited to see him. One last thing I wanted to hit on. We have Indiana's assistant coach, Mike Weiner. He was incredible, and I believe that he was a huge prominent role in their offensive capabilities. As we know, Indiana has had one of the best, if not the best, offenses in the NBA the last couple of years, and Mike was a huge part of that. I know the New York Knicks were interested in bringing him in, but he didn't leave to go to the Knicks. He was staying with the Pacers, we thought, and then all of a sudden, the other day, we see that they mutually parted ways. I'm not sure why. But like Stefan Bondi has reported, it's incredibly interesting and development just weeks after he turned down the Knicks job. So we'll see what happens with him. Maybe he has something lined up somewhere else, maybe at a college. Maybe he becomes a head coach of a college program. We'll see. But I think that's a tough loss for Indiana. I'm not sure why they would want to part ways with him. Did they fire him? Are they just saying part ways? Did he want to leave? We're not sure. But all I know is he will be missed in Indiana. He was a huge part of their offense. So last thing I want to hit on is the Raptors have appointed a new head of basketball operations. We know that Masai Ujiri and the Raptors front office parted ways. Ton of Raptor fans believe it was a reason because it came from the top of MLSE. They're the team that owns the Raptors, and they make a ton of decisions for the Raptors. A ton of Raptor fans were upset about that. How do we, let Masai go after all this time of bringing us a championship in 2019? He had that huge debacle that happened at the NBA championship parade when a police officer, security guard, was being very physical with him and was trying to get him out of there, not even realizing that this is the man this is the reason why this parade is happening. So that was very weird and upsetting. But some people believe, what has Masai really done the last couple of years? So I can see both sides. It's tough to see a guy like a Masai who built them all the way from the ground up, gave them a championship, was with them with the championship run. It's sad to see him go, but Bobby Webster has been a part of the Raptors for some time now, and now he will be the lead guy there. And I think that's the best case scenario for the Raptors. They have a guy that they can trust, has been there with Masai, but also can be, incorporating his own ideas. And the Raptors, maybe we don't see what they're doing right now that makes sense. Are they a middling team? What are they doing? They're paying a ton of money to an Emmanuel Quickly, paying a ton of money to a Brandon Ingram and RJ Barrett. But just because we don't see the plan and we're not understanding it doesn't mean that they don't have a solid plan. And who knows? Maybe the Raptors can build back up to that championship run in 2019 just with a different roster. Who knows? We'll see. I'm not here to, clown on the Raptors for, missing out on a top pick or something like that. They were, quote unquote, tanking the last couple of years. But I don't know if that was due to injuries or just, circumstances that we don't know about behind the scenes. But all I know is that bringing in Bobby Webster as their head of basketball operations is a great move for them. That is just some of the things I wanted to hit on. Don't think there's a ton of other news to get into right now. Again, I want to thank Keith Smith for breaking this all down. He also mentioned that there could be a sign-in trade for Malik Beasley, but as we know, sign-in trades do hard cap you at the first apron. So a team that is past the first apron can't do any sign-in trades, and teams that don't want to get hard capped at the first apron will not, be interested in any sign-in trades. So yes, there could be sign-in trades that could happen, but it's not the most likely case scenario. I think the most likely case scenario is that he just stays with Detroit, signs on that $7 million deal, and maybe he signs for just a 1 year. Maybe he signs a 3-4 year deal. I think it would be smart to sign for that 1 year and then hit back free agency next summer and go from there for him. I think that's the best case scenario for Malik, and I think that's the best case scenario for the Pistons. You don't want to invest too much, and then maybe he has, not such a good year, or maybe those gambling issues come up again. We're not sure, but I think everything will work out. I think he'll go back to Detroit. Maybe he goes to Indiana, like I mentioned before, but I think Detroit is the best fit. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you guys taking your time to watch my video. If you want to like, subscribe, leave a comment, I would appreciate it. Again, my name is James Stanzoni, and I'm signing off. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.